think it was 1989. In fact, I came to MIP as a documentary filmmaker. I was producing a documentary about the global television business, and that's how I came here. And I said, okay, this is where we've got to come. This is where it happens. This is the center of the universe. And indeed it was. And in fact, what was astonishing was the level of access that we got to some of the most major players. And they were very happy to talk about things. So, you know, the presidents of Viacom and Paramount and all of these big American major companies, and very kind of open about how they operated in this business. It was a real eye-opener. And of course, just to see the range of things that were going on was astonishing. One of the things I have to say that always struck me is kind of both ironic and fascinating is here we are, it's communication, most advanced kind of technological business you're in. And what happens is twice a year, you get together in the most ancient form of kind of connecting, which is the bazaar, the souk, the marketplace, and that's what it is, with all the stalls and people kind of coming and going and meeting each other in that kind of way. So it's an extraordinary kind of combination of the most ancient forms of exchange and barter with the most advanced forms of technology. One of the most memorable, and this was when I was coming here as an independent producer, and I was working with a small doc company. I was head of documentary, and I insisted, come, we must go to MIP. That's the place to make things happen. And the owner and my friend and was very reluctant. You know, was used to operating in Canada. I said, no, we got to go. And I developed a project, and it was at a time when pitches weren't quite as refined, and I developed just a visual approach to how to pitch this thing in terms of things. And it was a 6-part series. It was called The Sexual Century, and it had the most provocative cover. And I brought about 20 copies of this proposal with me. I couldn't keep it in the stands. It was torn out of my hands. I had to go and reproduce another 50 here. And in fact, out of that cold call meeting with ITV, got the series locked and made. Well, it's a number of things. Certainly through the 80s, all the specialty channels that came on board and the whole landscape changed. And I remember the debates that went on, and everybody was kind of in a great panic. Oh my God, the audience is going to be fragmented. We're going from 3 or 4 major networks, and now we're going to the 500 channel universe, and what's going to happen? And where are we today? We're in the age where every day, you know, practically, well, here at MIP in October 2012, Google can announce, you know, another 60 channels on YouTube. The channels are unlimited as opposed to simply 500, and suddenly that expansion, that kind of notion of scarcity, which is where television used to operate, is no longer there, which means everything changes. How you do business, how you think about audiences, how you think about creating is fundamental, and we're just at the very beginnings of it. And I think what, you know, MIP is trying to do, and I think they're really getting there, is trying to kind of, how do we service that community? How do we engage in all the different aspects? You know, the television isn't disappearing in terms of traditional, but the future is happening. The fun part is connecting with people, and the time, it's both kind of, it's the part that makes things happen, is when you kind of can really talk and get beyond just that initial pitch or trying to sell, and just kind of begin to think about things in a larger kind of way. That happens here. It can happen at a party, it can happen over a meal, over a drink, and that's going on all the time. Look at what's happening in terms of smart TVs, where you get the merger of the digital with the traditional screen. And what happens when traditional broadcasters just become yet another app, competing with all the other apps on that primary screen? That changes things. And I think the take-up on connected TVs or smart TVs is happening fairly rapidly. So in a couple of years, 3 years, the whole game may change yet again.